You're listening to a DM podcast.
Welcome to Over the Back Fence. I'm Di Edwards.
I'm Nicola Dale, and we're buddies of nearly 4 decades. And yes, we actually do happen to share a back fence.
We do. We love parties, people, inspirational stories, and honestly, making the most out of life.
So join us as we open our hearts, share our stories, and hear from some of the most inspirational people in the world, and have a laugh along the way.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Oh my goodness, Nicola, what a week that was.
That was a week of fun, a week of sailing, a week of sun, a week of bubbles.
Oh, that was the Hamilton Iron Race week Nicola and I have just popped back from. It was just, look, if you ever get a chance, pop up. It's in August every single year.
Which Sundays.
Hundreds and hundreds of people. Some of the best sellers in the world, if not Australia, are all there. And Nicola and I were interviewing on location up there.
Yeah, it was great. So this potty that you're going to listen to now, we actually had the pleasure of interviewing these elite sailors. So the sound's a little bit different because we actually did it in location. Yeah. And it was terrific. So
and we'd always full of 49 champagnes from the day before.
So we interviewed people like, Alice Parker, who's an amazing 30-year-old navigator, incredible,
Someone that's out to sea, who's done many a Sydney to Hobart with 20 guys. She's the only female on board, non-stop between Sydney and Hobart with, waves crashing over the bow. We talked about things like, what do you do when you're downstairs being the navigator in those situations? Yeah. It's mind-blowing,
It is. And what about Mark Richards, who's a skipper of Wild Oats? He's great.
9-time line honours at the Sydney to Hobart, internationally renowned and revered.
So it's good speaking to a bloke because there's a lot of men who's out sailing, but now the big shift is women. And then what about
it's now
Stacey
getting more and more.
Jackson?
Yeah.
This woman is remarkable. She's sailed around the world twice.
The Volvo around the world race, which goes for 9 months.
Julie Bishop jumped out of the boat.
Remember that one? She did a Sydney to Hobart, and Bob Oatley, who obviously we all know from Wild Oats, he lent her the boat. And good old Julie Bishop jumped off the back because she couldn't sail to Hobart with him for various reasons. But look, honestly, there's so much. It's fascinating. If you're listening now and saying, I'm not into sailing, well, Nicola and I aren't sailors.
Well, Tom's a better sailor than me, but
I am. I used to have a charter boat, but I'm great at serving champagne rather than driving the boat. But there's stories, like particularly as Nicola just said, Stacey Jackson, she does a race for 9 months. Her stories will blow your mind, particularly the resilience, really frightening things that occurred out to sea. You'll love it. We loved it. And the social side of it too.
Yeah, the social side of it too. Nick Douglas, she's an amazing sailor girl. She's got a really popular sort of podcast there.
Effervescent.
And also we met, which I thought was really cool. Di and I were having coffee, and then we just met some locals, and these ladies and all different. They live at Hamilton Island, and they just did like local sailing. So it wasn't just for the rich and wealthy at all. It's
very true
for everybody.
Yeah,
it's a great episode. I hope you like it.
The social side of it was mind-blowing.
Oh, wasn't it good?
Listen, I promise you, it's not just like sailing and pulling the ropes and all of that. Everyone has a remarkable story. Enjoy it.
Enjoy.
It's so funny. We've been chatting here. We're here at Hamilton Iron Race Week, and with Nicola and Di having too much fun. In fact, I had the deepest sleep after having lots of drinks on the beautiful Wild Oats boat out at Whitehaven yesterday. But we're so delighted today to have with us Alice Parker, who is the navigator on board Wild Oats. And you'd all know Wild Oats, like it's, I think, 9 line honours in the City to Hobart. There's so much to talk about Alice. Not the mere fact that she's just turned 30. She's a young girl that, for those that understand what a navigator is, literally she navigates where the boat goes with how many guys on board in the big super maxis, like the URM maxi?
URM we sail with like up to 21 people.
Okay, so how many men, how many girls?
Just me on the URM and a bunch of boys.
It can't be that bad.
I think a lot of women listening right now, guys that are into sailing, of course, in awe of Alice. But a lot of girls go, it sounds like a dream come true. But look, to be honest, the sense of responsibility And for those that haven't sailed before, when you're down in the cabin and you're heeling over, we're talking Southern Ocean here, going on the Sydney to Hobart yacht race, you know, huge smashing waves over the bow of the boat, and it's clunk, clunk, bang, bang, and it's confined space. She's there working away, guiding them to hopefully a win. Now, am I right, in the last Sydney to Hobart, they came second?
Yeah.
And you were the navigator. This is for URM, the
Yeah,
Maxi.
we came second.
Well
Yeah,
done.
hey, well done. And welcome.
So
We've got to say
proud.
welcome to the back fence too, Alice Parker. What's his
We're over
name?
the back
Yes,
fence at
having
Hamilton
me.
Island.
Exactly. We're bringing it to you. Yeah. Well, Di, that's amazing with that
I
introduction.
know.
And
I'm in
didn't-
awe of her.
I know. And so, I mean, how do you get into navigation and why?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it's just another role on the boat that contributes to the whole team environment. Like, I've done a lot of offshore sailing in smaller boats, and then started to do a little bit of two-handed racing, and was interested in learning more about the
And
navigation.
two-handed means?
So two-handed says just two people on board, so
Right.
just you and one other, on usually a much smaller yacht. So yeah, I was really interested in kind of upskilling and building up my weather skills that way. And I have a background in match racing, which is two boats, so one boat versus another.
What's it called?
Match racing.
Match racing, okay.
Yeah, and so that's quite sort of tactical and strategic based, and I always love that element of it. And navigation, there's that element of it, incorporating, you know, the rules, the weather, the wind, the currents. Yeah, so I was always a little bit interested in it, and one day I had a gentleman who owns a boat called Pretty Woman, Richard Hudson, sort of say, "Oh, I need a navigator, would you be interested in learning how to do the job?" And I was like, yeah, I'd love to learn. And any
Love this guy,
I know,
to see
isn't
your
it? Yes.
potential.
Yeah, it was so wonderful. So it was sort of through COVID, and I was going down every Friday afternoon, catching up on the boat, and he was sort of showing me the basics, and I really enjoyed it. And sort of one thing led to the next, and I've done a few courses and kind of just kept building up my skills. Always learning. It's a role where I think with any role in sailing, but especially navigation, you never stop learning. It's sort of an upward trajectory I'll talk about a lot, but yeah, there's just so much to know and so much to learn, and I love that about the role.
You're just mind-blowing. I mean, guys, we're not just talking about, just the local club race. This is like on an international level. Like, Sydney to Hobart race is revered around the world because it's in the Southern Ocean. And there you are. And might I add, guys, she's quite petite. And there she is down in the cabin with all these guys. How many days is it normally? A couple days?
Yeah, I mean, the bigger the boat, the shorter the race.
So tell me the
2
negative,
days.
being squashed into that little cabin with those guys.
Oh, I mean,
Besides gorgeous humans down, like coming, sleeping, doing the shifts and whatever on the boat.
I mean,
Smelly socks, for example.
smelly socks, yeah. Oh, yeah, smelly socks. Yeah, the smell of diesel is probably not particularly pleasant.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I know, I can't, and don't you get seasick?
I was seasick in the last Hobart, and it was
Yes.
not particularly pleasant. We all got quite sick, actually. There's something going around the boat. But yeah, I was quite sick. And, it's just part of racing offshore. I mean, you're in an uncomfortable carbon box that's, beating through the seaway. And, yeah, it's just sort of how you manage it. So you just got to keep your
You
fluids
must
up.
have an incredible mindset, because other people could go, look, I'm sick, and when they are that way, and go, I just don't think I can do this. But is it just part of the course, like part of how it is?
Did you know the problem? Because with a lot of people, because I ran a charter boat, a lot of people with seasickness fall asleep.
Yeah.
So you're the navigator. You can't do that.
Tell everybody, tell us what you've done.
No,
I mean,
seriously.
you're 30, and what have you done already in sailing? Tell us some of the achievements that you've done. So you've been Sydney to Hobart.
So I've done 4 Sydney to Hobart.
4?
And then I have done a lot of one design sailing, so a few world championships in that class, a little bit of Etchell sailing. So
You're
boats.
so humble. A little bit of
Very.
world class, a little bit of world champions here.
And then all my match racing stuff. So I did a lot of that. That involved going to New Zealand and a few events in Europe, South Korea. One of my favourite places.
Is it?
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
Why is that?
Really cool event. Just the people are just so welcoming and lovely, and yeah, it was just a really, really cool experience when I was growing up.
So you know how we think she's remarkable and we're in awe of her.
Yes,
And she's
yes.
this petite, remarkable,
30-year-old
talented
young woman.
She's also a physiotherapist.
Yeah.
Of course she is.
And because a lot of people think with sailors, and particularly professional sailors, as in go around the world sailing, they think they're very one-dimensional, they're a sailor. But they forget that a lot of these people have another career outside of sailing. So In fact, a lot of the sailors here at Race Week I've been talking to all have their careers behind sailing is remarkable. But you're also studying for another degree, and what might that be?
Yeah, well, because I do love the sailing so much, I'm starting to, I want to upskill, I just want to get better at what I do. So I'm currently enrolled in a Bachelor of Science, just upskilling in some mathematics and physics subjects.
Did you hear that?
Yes. I think
Right up my
I know.
alley.
I don't know whether
So
you
you're
and I are
going
going
to
to
be-
enrol in that, Didy, you know.
Yeah, the goal is to go and do
That's
a little
excellent.
bit more kind of like weather, like meteorology. That's sort of where I'm looking at going. So I'm just sort of slowly chipping away at that. Whilst also trying to pay the bills and keep sailing. And so it's, just juggling at the moment. But yeah, long term, I'd love to get into meteorology and a bit more kind of weather study. And
So would
see
you
how that goes.
recommend sailing if you've got sort of, people listening as well, and whether they're your age or younger, or they've got children sort of your age or younger, to go into sailing? What would you
I
say?
think it's such a wonderful sport because you can do it from the age of, 6, 7, all the way through to you're in your late 80s, 90s. And it's
Love this.
See, that's so good.
It's such a wonderful thing, and it's a big community. And it's also sort of like a way of life. You go down to the yacht club and you're there with all your friends of all ages. Some of my really good friends are much older than I am and much younger than I am, and we all have something that we've got in common, which is love of being on the water and going out sailing. So I could highly recommend it. And it's also really cool. Like, I'm sort of at that age now where a lot of our friends are having kids, and they take their kids out on the boat, and that's part of their lifestyle, and the kids grow up around the water and sailing as well, and it's just
Healthy.
Isn't
it's
that
just really nice to
beautiful?
see.
No imprint on the earth too. I used to charter a boat for many, many years, and when the engine went off, I would start smiling. It was there was a wind bellowing in the sail. It was quiet. It's almost meditative in a way, and I think that in itself, is a beautiful gift as a sport.
Yeah, it's so magic. Yeah, I think of like my first ever night offshore sailing. I was just out of high school, and I think I couldn't have asked for a better night ever. It was beautiful clear skies, no moon, so all the stars were out, and we had phosphorescence in the water. Wow. So there were these phosphorescent dolphins just, doing their thing, hanging around the yacht. And I think that was the moment I was like, okay, this is what I really want to do.
I've got triple goosebumps
yes.
right now.
Amazing. It's not always like that.
No.
It's
No. There's ups and downs,
definitely
but
not
that's
always
beautiful.
like that. But that was, I was very fortunate. That was my first night at sea, or one of my first nights
That's
at
a
sea.
sign from the universe too, isn't it, really? Like of going, guiding light of where you should be going.
Particularly when the dolphins
And-
come off the bow, there's something...
Yeah.
That's
little
good. Now
torpedoes,
tell us,
maybe.
They're
come on,
torpedoes.
tell us about some of the horrible, tough times or the scariest times out to sea. Because I'm a bit of a wuss, I'm not very good that way. So, but scare me.
The Hobart we did a couple of years ago, we had a big northerly, so it was a big downwinder, and we were getting gusts of 40 knots, up to 40 knots, in quite a decent sea state. And we were coming into Tasman Light, which is sort of like your final approach into Hobart. And I remember all the boys were upstairs, and I was sitting down and I was looking at us approaching the Tassie coast and sort of thinking, okay, we've got, maybe 15 minutes before we need to change our course so we don't hit the rocks. And I was the only one downstairs, and there was just water gushing over the decks, and big boat noises, lots of, creaking and whistling and all sorts of sounds. And there's a couple of moments where we, kind of lost a little bit, and the boat would hit the back of a wave and kind of stop. And I would end up in the brace position on the nav desk, kind of going, okay, here we go. And you sort of start to get elevated, and you kind of think, okay, cool. And then the boat settles down again, and off you go. There's a few moments there I was thinking, I'm so glad my mum can't see this. I know
She's just
she
heard
would
it
be-
now.
Yeah, I was like, thank goodness she can't see this, because she would be very upset.
So how fearful
Wow.
were you in that moment?
It's funny, like, I have such good faith in the capability of the guys on the boat. Like, I wasn't really afraid at all. We train for these scenarios. We do sea safety survival
Yes.
training, and
And do you have the butterflies? Like, are you cool?
I'm pretty cool.
Wow, that wouldn't
But look,
surprise me.
I guess it's part
Nicola
of the...
would be in
Yes,
fetal
yeah.
position, and you're saying it should be cool.
I would.
Just
I would.
embrace position.
On the
No
air-
problem.
we
I'm
can-
embrace
We can
position.
swap roles on the aircraft. I'd be calm. It's part of your training, and people would look at you and you'd be calm. So I think it's your environment that you're in.
I always look at the hostess
You know,
for
and-
if there's
But
turbulence.
I really get that, and I really admire what you do. And I've got to say to everyone too, we're really grateful that you've just got this time for us, because you're about to go racing.
She
any moment
It's
now
true.
as well.
We really needed to share Alice's story with you because of her age. And honestly, as you all know, the podcast is about inspiring you with other people's story. Now, Alice, she's just turned 30. And you know what? One of the greatest problems in our world today is loneliness. You know, loneliness can actually make us sick. Get down to a club. Get into community. Go and learn how to sail. It's a great thing at any age.
That's a really good thing. And you can learn how to sail, or can you even be some sort of participant and join a club, get the community? Because, look, I've only been here for a few days and I can just see that community feel.
It's very true, Nicola.
Very inclusive. Can people, if they're listening, what can they do?
Absolutely.
Can they go to
there's
a
so
club
many wonderful volunteer opportunities at your club.
Is that? Are there?
It's, fantastic.
Even for older people,
even
volunteer.
For older people. You don't need to be super, super fit. There's always clubs looking for people who can help kind of set up the courses, or, you know, put marks in the water, or take time on the boat. There's so many opportunities in the sport.
And learning that they've got amazing setups for teaching you how to sail.
Yeah, there's great programs, and there's great programs for, you know, you sort of think like, oh, there's Learn to Sail for young kids, and that definitely exists. But there's also great Learn to Sail for adults, and even for, you know, just all female courses as well, if that's something that makes people feel more comfortable.
Wow,
We've got a couple of our signature questions which we want to
ask one
fire.
last
Okay,
question.
yes, you can,
I just
Di.
wanted to
We'll
say
let you.
Congratulations on getting married.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that was just joyful,
Got
beautiful.
that newlywed glow about her, hasn't she? You know,
She's got everything going about her. And I just want to ask the classic, what's ahead for you? What's ahead for Alice Parker? What would you like to see ahead for Alice Parker?
Oh gosh, that's such a good question. And to be honest, I'm at a really cool point in time at the moment where it's kind of an open book, and I'm kind of just riding the winds and sort of seeing where I am.
Riding the winds.
I'm just kind of going with the flow.
Yes.
Well, if you could share a back fence with anybody on planet Earth, who would it be, Alice, and why?
Oh, goodness.
Anybody.
Me.
We've put her on the spot.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, if I could share a back fence with anybody. This is going to be a bit of a weird answer, but I kind of just love meeting new people, and I don't know, there's something exciting about when you have a new neighbour and you kind of put your hand over the fence and you start having a chat, and it doesn't really matter who that person is, but it's just a new story to learn and a new person to talk to.
Oh, bravo.
Oh, my
We've never
God, she's
had
got
that
me.
answer
I mean,
ever.
you had me before the interview,
And
now you've really...
And that's a completely different angle
And
than
you
we've
know what,
ever
guys?
had.
The way she said that with such conviction, and you're just pure. You're beautiful, Alice. If sailing can do that,
We've got one more to throw at you, which because you're a wise 30-year-old.
Okay, this is crazy because you're only 30, but if you had the opportunity of telling your 20-year-old self something, what do you think that would be, and why?
I think it would just to be confident and just to keep being open and keep learning, because there's, at that point in my life, I was sort of just towards the end of my physio degree and kind of trying to work out where I was going, and I think it's just be open to opportunities and, enjoy the ride, because it's been an amazing journey.
Oh, bravo, Alice.
We've managed to lasso
Rico!
a sailor, someone that a lot of the listeners would know, Mark Richards, better known as Rico. You know, Australian sailor and boat builder, known for his achievements as long-time skipper of Wild Oats, and also, I might add, 9 times line honours winner of the annual Rolex City to Hobart race.
Well,
and many
amazing.
other feathers in his cap. But I just wanted to sum up Rico with one line from Bob Oatley, and I get emotional when I say it. And Bob Oatley, he described Rico as one of the greatest sailors of this era. And I just thought that just says it all. Welcome, Rico.
Yeah. Welcome. Yes, so
much.
Di's teared up.
Isn't it crazy?
Can you?
Well, I was here.
I'm going to tear up.
No, but Rico, the day he died, I was here in Hamilton Island, and I went and picked all these hibiscus. I made a reef, and I walked out and cut my foot in the reef.
Do we
because
tell the
I
listeners?
threw the reef out to see.
Yeah.
Because for all those listeners, Keith Williams started Hamilton Island, but Bob Oatley took it over, and such tenacity and dedication to take that on.
It really was, and I was with Bob the day he died, and it was a really tough day, sad day, and we all miss him terribly, but he's here in so many different forms. I think Keith Williams and Bob were both visionaries, big time, and the difference with Keith, he had the visionary, but he couldn't quite get the funding together, and whereas Bob was a very successful businessman and had the money, and he could make his visions come to reality, and that was pretty amazing. So, and I think Hamilton Island, Qualia, the whole scene is, what a man with money and true vision can actually do. When Bob used to say he's going to do something, he'd do it. You look at the room we're in today, it's amazing, the detail, everything about it.
The room you didn't know existed. We're in the Hamilton Yacht Club and we're in this little auditorium. Rico goes, I didn't even know this was here.
But you look around, it's amazing detail and not a penny's been spared, and it's a great tribute to what Bob, who he was and how he did things. So it's
He was like a father
special.
figure to you, wasn't he?
We
You
were
had a
mates.
great rapport.
Yeah. I mean, I sailed for Bob for 25 years as an amateur the whole time. I did it, because sure, Bob helped me with my business at times, but we were mates, and we sailed together as mates, and that's what we did, and that's what I'm still doing today because of Bob and Sandy and the family, and it's been a great relationship. So, and we've won a lot of stuff, we've lost a lot of stuff as well, so it's not always up.
That's life.
You have your downs as well, and that's the sport. But it was a great relationship and still is, and we miss Bob dearly.
Oh, now can I hear a bit about you? Tell us, and for the listeners who don't know about you, just tell us a little bit about it. like how you started in, sailing, and then, where you are today and what you've done.
Yeah, look, it's a pretty interesting story. I mean, you've got about 5 hours now.
Yeah.
I mean,
55.
It's very much not like what you would think. But, look, I was an adopted kid in Adelaide Women's Hospital, and I was very lucky to have a couple of English migrants, parents who adopted me in Adelaide, and they moved from Adelaide virtually straight up to Sydney, to Pittwater. And so I grew up in Newport, which is a pretty amazing place. Now, if I hadn't been adopted by those people, and they didn't have any money, they were normal mum and dads and normal people and hard-working people, and they but if they hadn't have moved there, I would not have had the journey I've had today.
Wow.
The people I've met, I started sailing with Alan Bond when I was 18, I was with John David, I've been sailing with Bob Oatley and Marcus Blackmore and all these amazing people, and all around the world, 2 America's Cups racing, match racing for many years with Peter Gilmore, and the journey I've had, the people I've met, I know Kings personally, I know Princes personally. I mean, it's an amazing journey. But it all started from being adopted by the right people and being put in the right location.
It's a bit of fate, universe.
It's just a beautiful
and I love how
thing,
you've started your whole thing acknowledging that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's really
Well,
warms
we
everyone's
both went.
heart. I know.
Yeah.
But Newport also,
And did
because
they
of
adopt all
Pittwater.
the siblings as well? Is
Yeah,
this
they did.
interesting?
Yeah, what's the usual story back in those days? They adopted my brother first, and then myself, and then because I couldn't have children biologically, but then they ended up falling pregnant and having a sister, right? So,
you made it happen.
Yeah, but they actually had the opportunity to hand me back at some stage. So Mum decided not to, so that was a bit of a bonus. But no, look,
He was a cute kid, wouldn't he?
we had a lot of love, and we had a great upbringing, so it was really good. And but it's the first thing you pick up a Barbie doll or a car, but the first thing I picked up as a baby was a boat, and I was working at the yacht club when I was 12 and had left school at 15 and started my boat building apprenticeship, and it just all went from there. So it's been boats. So it's been a really good thing, and I've just had doors of opportunity have opened up along the way in all different areas, and when those opportunities knock, I open the door and let them in.
Well, speaking of opportunities, in 1995, you started building Palm Beach yachts.
That's right. It's been my business from day one, and
Right.
and starting a business as a young man and a young family, it's not an easy job to do, And fortunately, I was very
God,
passionate,
no.
and I built a race yacht for Bob, which we were very successful with back in the days. And that was one of the first boats I built when I started the company. I built a boat for Bob Oatley and Neville Crichton before we started the power boats, but it's just a good relationship, and Bob loved it. It was, we're just passionate, and he was, he saw how hard I worked, and every now and then you didn't have the money to pay the wages, so Bob would help you out, and totally commercial relationship. You still had to pay him back and pay interest and everything, but he was very tough like that, which is great.
Love that.
And
Great.
so he was like my bank basically, because he didn't have the credit rating to get decent loans to run a business like that. And Bob believed in me, and he backed me, and that's how the whole relationship started.
It's like you've had beautiful sort of like backbone, amazing people from birth, really, haven't you?
Yeah.
That the people that
Yeah.
adopted you and the different stages there. But tell us about some of your achievements. I mean, Di said, was it 9?
Sydney Hobart.
Hobart. Well, you have done, you have been sailed all around the world and done everything. What's your greatest achievement? Have you got up to so many?
Yeah, look, I mean, from a sporting perspective, all the sailing achievements have been amazing. There's been a lot of them. I mean, the Sydney Hobart's just a small sector of what we've won in our careers. I remember winning the 1990 match racing world championships with Pete Gilmore in New Zealand against the toughest fleet you could possibly be against in those days, and that was an amazing feeling. I'll never forget that day, because it was against the odds, and we just kept fighting back and ended up winning the regatta. So that was one that will always sit well with me. Winning the first Sydney Hobart in 2005 against Neville Crichton, and we broke the race record. We won handicap, we won line honours, but the big thing there was we beat the favourite, and they had a very highly star-studded crew, and our boat had been in the water for 2 weeks, and we ended up winning everything. So that was
Who was the favourite
pretty
then?
special. That was Neville Crichton and Alfa Romeo.
Okay.
Alfa
Oh,
Romeo.
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Because
Good old Neville.
And then winning the Admirals Cup in 2003 was a pretty big deal for us. Once again, against
so
the
that's
odds.
in Cowes,
In
is that
Cowes,
right?
yeah,
In
England.
the
Isn't
UK.
that great? All
Yeah.
against the odds.
So it takes you, doesn't it? It takes
Beautiful.
you all around the world, doesn't
Does.
it? You
Oh,
in
yeah.
the-
No, it's
It's
an
amazing
sport.
sport in
Yeah.
that sense.
It
yeah.
really is an amazing
Yeah.
sport, and it's a big family. It's a brotherhood, and that's why we can all stick together and help each other when we need to. It's
Remember we
special.
discussed, because this is Nicola's, second race
yes,
week
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
It's like a big hug. Wherever you walk, the sailors are there. And I remember I dropped something out, someone's picking something up and say, how are you, mate? Whatever. Doesn't matter what boat you're on.
Yeah.
There's this
It's a real community, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's actually...
And it seems to be a
it's
pretty
fabulous.
healthy one. I mean,
It
I know.
is.
I think all the sailors
Well,
know
we
how to
all
have
like-
a little.
they all like a
I was
beer.
going to say they all like a bit of a drink, but that's being a sailor, isn't it?
It's
You know?
true.
And is it,
What do you do when the drunkard's out? I love it.
Yeah.
Question. I've known Rico for a while, and I was, this question's always hovered in my mind. When you're out to sea in one of the more dangerous oceans, the Southern Ocean, with 20 odd men on board, and you're the skipper, how do you keep your cool? What do you draw on?
Oh, look, I mean, it's when you're at sea. We go to sea in an amazing machine with an amazing team. So that helps, obviously, because when the situations do happen, and they've happened many times with us, in dangerous situations, it's really all those years of experience come together, and it just happens. I mean, if you know your stuff and you work together well as a team, you just have to deal with the situations the best way possible. And we've had some amazingly weird, crazy, scary scenes.
Give me
Yeah,
an
such
example.
Oh, we've broken masts that haven't fallen down, and they're sort of hanging out of the boat, and we're sailing along for 40 knots of breeze for 8 hours, trying to keep the rig in the end, trying to get sails down because you can't get them down because the mast is snapped at the deck, but it's actually fallen back down in itself.
Yeah.
So it's shortened itself by a metre, but the rigging's still holding it up somehow, and you can't send the guy up the mast because it's too dangerous. So you got to work out how to get it down, and we managed to get that. We managed to get the sails down in that situation.
Not to mention the swell.
Oh, the swell and the wind. It was blowing 40 knots.
Bloody
and,
hell. Oh my God.
Sailing out to New Zealand, basically, doing 30 knots with a mast that's hanging out of the boat and trying to work out how to do that. Well, we ended up getting that boat home with the rig still in the boat and getting the sails out, which is pretty amazing,
Congratulations.
So it was, and things like that happen, and so it's just there's a lot of great sailors here, and there's so many sailors who have some, there's crazy stuff happens at sea. I mean, you saw that big super yacht sank a couple of days ago
I
in
can't
Europe.
believe it. Off
Yeah.
Sicily.
And I mean-
Nicola and I were just there.
Who would think? I mean, just
No, but I don't
crazy,
get it. A tornado
Yes.
hit the
Well,
yacht.
there's weird weather stuff happening all around the world these
Yeah,
days.
true.
And,
Yeah.
to have a tornado and be hit by a tornado in that location is just...
And
it's a-
Sicily.
Random.
It's a freak
know,
accident.
random,
yeah,
yeah.
freak accident, and it's
Yeah.
really sad. And who knows what happened? But something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
And it's been a terrible situation. So you just got to hope that your number's not up, and when the bad situations happen, hope that you can actually work through them with your team.
And have you brought your family into it? Tell us, you were saying about community.
He was on
and
board
that.
with his beautiful grandson the
Oh,
other day.
isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah, that's
You know,
lovely.
got the grandkids, but it's
Yeah.
my daughters aren't into my sport, my passion, but it's but everyone's different, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
wish they were. They're in horses instead, and
It's more expensive.
Isn't it, mate?
Expensive.
Land to
Yeah.
sea.
Well, they're both pretty much
Incredible.
expensive sort of
Yeah,
sports,
yeah.
but then
Yeah.
again, I suppose for our listeners too, you can go sailing, can you? That it's not going to cost you people a lot of money, you know.
I'm not sure about that. I mean, most people wouldn't want my life. I mean, it might look good from the outside, but from the inside, it's a lot of work and a lot of travel.
Yeah.
And but I love it. And people say, "You're sick of it?" No, because I love it.
Do what you love,
See,
love
I
what you
think
do.
Nicola, you nailed it when you said he's
you're
living his
a
passion.
living example
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
You really
Yeah,
are.
so true.
You know,
Yeah.
and really congratulations on everything that you've done and achieved. And you certainly are a role model for so many people.
100%. We've just stolen Rico. He's
Yeah,
about,
he's about to
to
go
take off
Racing,
on,
so
on
thank
wild
you for
oats,
that.
bless him.
But before you're going to go, we've got a
yeah.
couple of
2
questions we're going to throw at you.
Yeah, keep going. Yep.
Okay.
I'm ready.
If you could share a back fence with anybody on
Oh.
planet Earth, who would it be and why?
That's a great question.
Oh,
Oh, that's a big one.
it is huge.
Is there another question yet? Can I think about it?
Yeah, there
Yeah,
is.
there is. Yeah,
I love
come
that.
back.
We've never had anyone say
I like that. Respect
Next
that.
one is, if you had the opportunity of having a chat with your 20-year-old self, what would you say and why? So think of that one while you think of the other
20
one.
so I probably would have said, at 20, I'll share the back fence with Elle McPherson. That's what I That's what I would have said when I was 20.
I wonder.
That was a great.
I wonder
that was
why.
Great.
I wonder
That's
why.
so good. And she's Aussie.
We're
Is
about
that
the same
it?
age.
To
No,
have great
She
conversations.
used to live very close to us, so anyway. And then, so that's that one. Look, I don't know. It's a hard question. I've got so many great friends, great people. I've met so many. There'd probably be 1,000 people I could share the back fence with. So
Okay, one other apart from Elle.
Oh,
Even if
God.
they've passed away or
Yeah, well,
still
look,
around.
I shared my back fence with Bob Oatley a fair bit, and in many ways we had a lot of fun. So I'd probably share my back fence with Bob
That's
Oatley.
who I.
Oh, that is
because
so.
I'm a bit spiritual. I felt him coming.
That is
there.
so
I went,
beautiful.
bingo,
Wow.
Yeah. Rick, I'm very conscious of time, and I know you've got a crew of boat hanging out there. We're so appreciate the time today to have that chat.
No
It's
problem,
like
guys.
it's just been joyful this
Yeah,
week.
well, look,
It really
I'll
is.
say something about you girls. I think it's really important today. I mean, the world's changing, and there's all sorts of issues around the world, whether it's war, politics, the whole thing. I mean, everything's so bloody negative these days, and the world is so reliant on these devices that we're talking on today, right? And the podcasts are becoming a big thing. But I think anyone who can be out there, doing a podcast that's about joy and fun and positive, happy stuff, I think it's a really great thing that you guys are doing. So I wish you all the best of luck with it, because I think the world needs it, and we need to listen to good stuff instead of all the miserable, boring, depressing stuff. So it's if we can balance the two, then the world will be a better place.
Oh,
Love
thank
that.
you.
So
We
good on
love
you guys.
that. Well, you've heard
Yeah.
it from the
Yeah.
skipper himself,
Yeah.
the master
gonna
of his own ship and
I love
destiny.
that.
So thank you so much.
Thanks,
Right,
Rick.
Hey, Diney, excited because we have
What a week we've had.
What a week with sailors. Well, we've got the real true adventures of a sailor girl herself, Nick Douglas, who's a 3-time open world champion and has done so much more, which we want to hear all about. An absolute dynamo. Welcome to the back fence.
Yeah.
Thank you. How good. I like back fences. I'm a country kid, so all about it.
That's fascinating. Even with when we interviewed Alice Parker, like it's remarkable. Like she talks about cows and paddocks, and she ends up being, a famous sailor. And same with you.
Yeah, so tell us about your journey into being a yachty.
Oh, I'm really lucky. My dad was a sailor, and
And
basically
he was from the country too.
no. So he was Sydney born and bred. So was my mum. And when I was 7, I think the story goes that Mum said, "You're going to miss them growing up." So we left Sydney and moved to Milton on the south coast.
Oh, beautiful
And
Milton.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, and I still live there now. That's where I grew up. I went to boarding school. I went to uni in Sydney. I did the whole Sydney thing. When COVID happened, I ran away. So I went back home, which is awesome because I love it there and my other half loves it there and we're close to mum and dad. But yeah, definitely the older I get, especially, the more I'm like, yeah, wow, I'm definitely a country kid. So
Amazing.
It's good.
And where did the passion come from with sailing?
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because sometimes my dad just looks at me and he swears that it's his father coming out of my mouth. So I'm not sure if it's nature or
Right,
or
yes.
the way I was nurtured, because my dad loves his sailing a lot. And I don't remember when I didn't sail. So I I loved going sailing. I didn't love racing until I was about 14 or 15. And then I got really passionate about racing. And then I think it's a lifestyle thing as well. I love
Right.
sailors. When I went to boarding school, I gravitated to the sailing club near where my school was, which was in Canberra. When I went to uni, the only things that I knew or remembered of Sydney were where family friends were or where sailing clubs were, because that's where I'd spent most of my time. So that's where I gravitated to. So I think for me, it's like an extension of my family. So, I'm super lucky. When my attempts to try and go to the Olympics ended and I started my media in...
Why did that? It just didn't work out.
Well, I didn't get selected. I injured myself before Beijing, and then I didn't get selected going to London. And so then when I sort of switched tack from being in corporate communications...
Switch
Tack,
tack.
I love
Yeah,
this, yes.
yeah.
Pull the sails up.
Exactly. And I switched to being, okay, well, now I'm going to go and try and help sailing as much as I can in terms of branding. And I came up to Race Week, was one of the first events that I really got involved with in 2014, doing my podcast on the veranda down at Robert Oatley College.
Wow.
And back then, it was like before podcasts were really out. You were one of the early ones too, weren't you?
I think 2012 we started doing a podcast, and then it was Sailing Ships.
When you
with
say
Kids.
we,
Yeah, so there was a group of girls, and we did a podcast out of the London Olympics, and
How cool.
and so that was really cool because we'd won so many medals, and I had started tweeting and doing a lot of social media then because we didn't have much coverage of it here. But Malcolm Page is here. He won gold in the 470 with Matt Belcher. We won gold in the laser. In fact, the first gold medal we won at the 2012 Games, like out of all of the sports, was Tom Slingsby winning a gold in the laser.
Oh, wow.
Our swimmers are disappointed. And everyone was thinking, oh my gosh, we're not even going to win a gold at these Games. And then all of a sudden here came the sailors romping home. Slingers won gold. The 470 won gold.
I remember that.
Yeah, Nathan Outeridge and Goobs won gold in the.
So you wanted to spread the message to the world.
Spread the message. Our sailors are incredible. Why aren't they rock stars? This is amazing. I'm really lucky that there were a lot of people who were like, she just wants to help and she's really genuine about that.
And what ways do you help? Like, tell people, like that through your media and what you do.
Is quite broad.
At this event specifically?
This one, or just big picture.
Golly.
Of your life. It's amazing what you're doing now.
Well, I came straight here from the Olympics, so I was in Marseille.
How was that?
Wow.
That was good. I was in Marseille.
I think I'm tired from running here at Race Week. Wow.
Yeah, so I was the venue commentator for sailing. So I had a few hats on at the Olympics as well. So I was commentating the venue. I was hosting the venue. So we had 12,000 spectators a day. So hosting the venue, commentating at the venue. They had two different French guys to do those two jobs. And I was the victory ceremony presenter, which was really cool. And I had that same role in Tokyo, but it was different because we had a lot more spectators and things like that. So I was actually out there hosting and interacting.
The vibe must have been so different because Tokyo, my daughter was there as a journalist, so she went and there was no one in the stadium. And
it was quite
strange.
But the vibe must have been totally different.
Oh, and it was really good to not have a mask on, honestly. Commentating with a mask on.
So get it.
But Di, isn't it interesting hearing it from Nick that there's just that thread of family and community to nearly every sort of person that we've met. It seems to be with the sailing community. It's come either from their father or and the joy and love of it. And
it's very
definitely
true. The inspiration from family.
I would love to tell people too that they can be involved in sailing if it wasn't their family. I just think traditionally as a female in yachting or sailing, I think traditionally you couldn't get into it unless you had a leg up, you know, and I'm really lucky as well that my dad was such a talented sailor, and instead of getting some young 20-year-old on board to go and win regattas, he stuck with me for however many years. I think it took us 10 years to win. We won our World Championships together. But it took us...
Wow.
Yeah, so it took us 10 years to get to that point where I was good enough to win a Worlds with him, you know. So he could have gone and done it with a 20-year-old guy.
That in itself, we're talking about inspiration, there's so many inspiring things, but that in itself is, talk about with perseverance. People say gold medals and whatever, but what goes behind it?
Yeah.
And the joys, highs and lows of it all, when you don't make it, you don't get this, but to get that gold medal for you, 10 years in the making...
Yeah.
In that process alone.
It was pretty amazing. And then we came second at the next one. We won the next one after that. So, and then in 2019, which was 10 years after we won the second one, we won a third together in the UK, against all the best. And so that was pretty special as well. And then I was like, I'm retiring. So, which was amazing. And I had a crack at the Olympics. And it's really funny because my dad he chose family so many times and chose me so many times.
Beautiful.
Which is really special and gave me a leg up. But now things are changing. You look around Hamilton Island Race Week now and there's girls everywhere.
Yes.
And it's
really
amazing.
Changing.
It's really changed.
Like
it's
in
to
numbers and
see
things
that.
like that. So women...
Your podcast was with a group of girls.
Yeah, it was with a group of girls.
Right.
So, it's...
Fabulous.
And yesterday we had a group of girls on Sunrise as well in the morning, which was, fantastic to look at the different pathways. But it's really changed in the past 5 years. Even when
That's current, isn't it?
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
5 years.
Look at the
changed.
sports like the Socceroos and with the women,
changing.
and it opens all the doors now.
It just should be for everyone. Full stop.
Yeah.
Just
and
as
then
simple as that.
I go straight from here to the America's Cup, and we have the first ever Women's America's Cup this year. So there's an actual
reading about that.
division for the women, which is cool. And then a lot of people are like, oh, it's just tokenistic to give the girls a go. And I'm like, but if we don't get the opportunity to have a go, we're never going to close the gap.
Correct.
So there's been a lot of opportunities now where sports have actually made it compulsory to have a female involved, and now we've got females who can close the gap. And it's interesting now because there's girls that are 10 years younger than me who are like, oh, it's not fair, all these guys got opportunities, and I'm like, wow, well, this is the first Olympic Games where it's been full gender parity.
Yes.
So, when I was younger, there weren't as many women spots available at the Olympics. And then you go back again, and a lot of my mentors were the first female Olympians. We didn't have female sailors in the Olympics until 1988. That was the first games female sailors were involved in the Olympics. And then you go back again and you look at people like Tracy Edwards, who
she's my
incredible.
mentor. She's my I saw that documentary and I just thought at that age, how is it possible to be that driven? And
she pushed so hard. And
it's not like it was a race, like around boys.
No.
She was out to sea
100%.
for months.
And went around the world and went, being a
guys,
cook is not good
those
enough.
listening, it's called Maiden. I think
go watch it. It's called Maiden.
It's, I don't know, Netflix
I think
or
it's
something.
on Netflix, but if you
it's
Google
really
it,
enjoyable.
you can find it.
I want to watch it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
So there's Maiden, there's Jess Watson, and she's amazing, but just came a little bit later, but still people were like, oh, she can't do it.
Around the world, didn't she?
And then Dawn Riley was the first female ever in the America's Cup, and that's when, girls didn't take part. So I know
Stacey Jackson too.
Stacey's
who
amazing.
just happens to be on board Wild Oats.
And Alice Parker as well, who you mentioned, and she's great.
Oh my God, what a gem she is.
I've coached her
and
before.
Do you have any particular highlights that really stand out in your incredible sailor girl life so far?
It's hard because I feel like sometimes I just don't stop, and so COVID, this is going to sound really weird to everybody that's listening, but COVID was a really good time for me to actually
a lot of people, COVID,
reset and think about how things were going to work. I met my other half. Well, we'd met a number of years ago, but we actually had time because he's busy too. We both we got together over COVID, and so that was super special for me because now going forward,
is he a sailor?
He wasn't a sailor. He is now.
I love
It
that.
is love, isn't it?
That's
Yeah,
great.
and so
Sink or swim.
and it's even more fun now because he sees, and that's why I say it doesn't have to come from family, because I've seen him adopt my family, which is sailing, and so that's something that's super special as well. But
And hey, you'll always be better than him at that.
Oh, well done. That's great. I was going to say your enthusiasm for sailing is just worth bottling.
Contagious, isn't it?
And I had a peek at Nick's Nick's some of your videos, and I think it was YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was laughing, and I was oh my God, and I was saying to Nicola this morning, how do you film when you're sailing and waves crashing over? How do you hold the camera? How do you do that?
Oh, I don't know. It's funny. There was a video that someone had from me doing a TP52 regatta in May, and I love working with the TP52 class. They're definitely a highlight. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm really good at skiing too, and I think the skiing legs and the rib legs and just holding yourself on a vessel they're very similar.
Is it a phone? What is it?
We use all different equipment.
Camera,
so we've got.
You're holding it.
Yeah, I often
and
hold it, and I'm sailing, and I often do that. And
multi-skilled,
yeah, I know it was funny working at the games.
And sailing, and
I'm really lucky. I think because sailors are a different kind of breed of people. We're used to doing math calculations in our head while we're looking at the weather, while we're trying to make a boat go fast, while we're communicating with people at a really high level.
You put me to sleep.
That's
just too much.
It's multi-skilling.
There's a lot.
But people don't think like that. That sailors that's all going through
another
their
thing I've just sort of witnessed to so many, they've just got such a love and passion of life.
Yeah.
Which is so
we love being
man
out
against
there,
the elements.
And even when you lose, and sometimes it really hurts when you lose, and not making it to the games. When I was ranked second in the world with Katie Spithill, who does a lot of work with me, and she's on the island. We didn't make it to the games, and Stacey Jackson didn't make it to the games. We all sailed together. We didn't make it to the games in 2012, and it breaks your heart. Absolutely breaks your heart.
Yes.
But then look at the friends that I've still got that are still here, that still love this sport, even though it's torn them in half. You know, so it's pretty incredible when you look at it like that.
And it's courageous for you because sometimes you've got to cop those losses, don't you? You know, it's just
and
like anything
to learn
that you've
from
given
it, isn't it?
Yes,
a lot of interviews we do, people have just about turn with the
Yes.
direction of their careers.
That's right.
When things went really wrong. And
Yeah.
as you said, it was very, very...
And I did, like, when I didn't make it to the games, I ran away. I went back to Canberra. I started working for the Anti-Doping Authority. I was like, right, that's it. I've had enough.
Yeah.
Didn't take me long. I was at Canberra Yacht Club. I was sailing every day. I was learning to skipper. I was on a different boat. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, wow, okay, here we go. I'm starting a media business in sailing, and it all just sort of takes off. So,
isn't
Amazing.
the beauty in that.
And
Yeah.
look at this media business is taking you all around the world.
It's
You know,
so
you're
true.
going
and
to
so
all
it
the
was
key
born
places.
out of that failure. So it's...
So for
you know.
listeners, he's a great example of when you're in your lowest ebb. You know, there's gold in that too.
Yes,
So,
100%.
wow. Well,
excuse the pun.
No.
now
Gold
Nick's
as
at
in
work.
everything.
We've grabbed
she
her
is.
too. We're just
See,
a
we're
couple
grabbing
of
where
our,
we
couple of our
can.
key
It's true.
signature questions. Do you
Yeah.
want to shoot, Tidy?
Okay, if you had the opportunity of meeting your 20-year-old self,
Oh, gosh.
what would you say to her and why?
I think when I was 20 and I won my first world championship, I remember getting on the plane to go home and I cried so hard because I didn't know what was next, because I'd worked so hard to win that world championship, and I cried and it wasn't because I was sad or anything like that. It was like, okay, what's going to be my next goal? And I think maybe that's why I still go from event to event to event to event, because I'm so goal driven. So I think I'd tell my 20-year-old self, don't worry.
Right.
There's plenty in front of you.
Right.
It's not going to end at this
Breathe.
point. Breathe.
Yeah.
Enjoy the moment.
Okay, the next question.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I know, conscious of
okay,
your time.
if you could share
Yeah.
a backfence with anybody on planet Earth, past or
yeah.
present, who would it be?
Oh, God.
Sailor girl, and why?
That's such a hard question because I admire so many people,
I
and
bet.
You can say a few, actually.
do you know what? It would, for me, I get quite sentimental, and even yesterday when I was doing the Prix de Elegance, I really missed Rob Mundell, and he's still alive, but
yeah.
we've lost him in a way, so I would love to share a back fence. I would love to have him back for a day. I would love to have Bob Fisher back for a day. I would love to see, and Bob Fisher's in Maiden, and he was I still read Red Socks every single day because I miss Bob Fisher. And I would love to see my grandpa, my dad's dad, just because don't cry, don't
so
cry.
proud of you.
Well, yeah, and I'd love to chat to him because so many people say I remind him.
What's his name?
Bill Douglas.
Bill's nice to say his name.
And a lot of people say that you remind...
That I remind them
I
of
think
him.
Bill's in the room. I've just got goosebumps everywhere.
Everywhere.
So Bill...
So guys,
Nick,
this is one
thank you so
dynamic
much.
human being.
Yes, on
pop
the
me a
ground.
message if you want to learn to sail, or if you've thought about it. I would love to tell you that anyone can go and have a go.
Oh,
Hey, I love that.
beautiful.
Well, God, this is our last day at race week. It's Saturday, and I must be honest, I haven't been sailing, and I'm exhausted.
Has it got something to do with the champagne, Jodie? Not the
Just a
sailing. You know,
little
come
bit.
on.
This is actually the longest time I've been at race. Normally I come up here, I pop up for 3 or 4 days, and I'm exhausted. And I'm only laughing because I'm sitting here with Stacey Jackson, a remarkable woman who, am I right, Stacey, you've done 16 Sydney to Hobarts.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's 16.
16,
Yeah,
wow.
it's-
Well, that's
it does
pretty
lose
damn
count eventually.
impressive.
Like, not many people can say that. Just, I honour that. I really do. As I said, I'm exhausted, and you're the one that's been sailing. She's sailing on Wild Oats here, up here at Race Week.
And about to sail after this interview too. You know, taking
Yeah,
it.
we've got
she
one
is.
more day,
So,
race,
so
one
we're
more day.
just again
We've-
just lucky to grab her. And I might add, while we're on 16 Sydney to Hobarts, she's done the one sailing race in the world that I'm massively in awe of is the Volvo Around the World race. And Stacey's not done one, but she's done 2. And guys, for those that don't know what that is, it's anything up to 9 months out to sea. It's a sailing race that goes for 9 months. Okay? I know you're all going, what the hell? I'm telling the truth. Stacey, where did it all begin for you?
Yeah,
Like, my God.
it's...
Where do you come from?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Drop down from the
welcome to our
universe.
back fence. Here's Stacey.
Yeah, well, sailing for me, I just started, my dad was into it. You know,
It's a
when we were
thing.
kids, we got the opportunity to have sailing lessons, and I was pretty much obsessed by the get-go. I had an older brother who I was forever in competition with,
Yeah.
and he was good at it, so I had to be better. you know. And he didn't follow it. He didn't. It wasn't for him.
So you won.
Yeah, I won. and I've just, the dreams have gotten bigger and wilder and more difficult as I've been sticking at sailing all these years.
Can I just ask now, when you're just saying about round the world trips, I didn't know until I'm sort of like a bit more of a newbie with the sailing then. Seriously, it's 9 months and around the world. What's it like?
For me, it was the greatest achievement I've done, and then to repeat it and do it for a second time, it generally is around the world. We typically start in Europe.
Right.
The course does vary, and then you go off and you do sort of 10 stops around the world, and then you get to this point where you cross back over your path around the world. And when we did that for the first time, I was on an all-female team.
Right.
And the boat that was leading the race, the skipper emailed our boat and said, "Congratulations, ladies, you've just sailed around the world." And it was actually a really cool moment. Yeah, it is. I still get goosebumps too. But it was a really special moment for us because this guy, the skipper of this team, was doing his 5th race around the world, you know, but he still took that special moment and that respect and gave it to us, which was like pretty amazing.
And where were you on planet Earth?
So at that point in time, we're coming up the coast of Brazil. So we've left
on planet
Europe.
water.
We sort of crossed the coast of Brazil and then cut back to South Africa and then sort of sail around the bottom of the world, and we've rounded Cape Horn, which is like the Everest of sailing offshore. And then we cross back across that track, and we've just got the home straight back up to Europe to do after that.
And is it a mixed team? Is it Aussie?
That was all female.
Yeah, so my
female.
first race was all female.
With different nationalities though?
Yeah, so I think we were 7 or 8 nationalities on board. And both of my races, so the second race I then did as a mixed team. So from our all-women's team, which we weren't the first women to do it, but there had been a gap of 12 years since the previous all-women's team. So,
is that Tracy Edwards?
Yes, she was the first, and then there'd been a few teams, and then there was this big gap. So we sort of try to reinvigorate having women offshore. And then from that, the next year, the next race, it was now every boat had women on board, which for us was like a success.
Beautiful.
It was a success
Beautiful.
story. Yeah.
Great.
So then I sailed with guys, 7 guys and 2 women on board. And that was amazing for me because now I'm sailing with people who are doing their 6th and 7th race around the world, which is absolutely nuts, by the way. But to get that experience and that learning curve and that knowledge from them was just, it was another gain again in my sailing career.
Oh, congratulations! Really,
such a short
like
time
it's
with
just
Stacey this morning, which is I'm finding really frustrating because I could honestly interview her for about 2 hours.
like do a movie
because
on you.
I'm fascinated by you in many, many ways. But can you, for someone listening going, oh my God, around the world, can you sort of just give us a day in the life of out to sea? And you've been out to sea for, I don't know, like a week or 2 weeks or whatever. Like what goes through your head? What sort of things are you seeing? Are you feeling sick because of the swell? Like, give us a picture of that.
It's so imagine we've already been out for a week, so we're in the rhythm, we're in the flow of it. We're sailing 4 hours on watch and then 4 hours off watch, and we just repeat that over and over. Except for if there's a manoeuvre to do, like if we need to change sails or we need a tackle jibe, we take everyone on deck for it. So it's a little bit of the luck of how it rolls for your off watch. Some days you get the raw deal and you just keep missing off watches or periods of off watch. Other times you get that 4 hours of blissful sleep.
So in your downtime, you're not always sleeping in that 4 hours.
No, so in that 4 hours.
So what are you doing? Watching a movie?
So I wish.
Painting your nails?
So in that 4 hours we eat. We get off deck. So when we take off our wet weather gear or whatever we are wearing on deck at the time.
Is the food okay?
We eat freeze dried food, which is rehydrated food. So we just add boiling water and voila, you've got some amazing curry dish or something.
Does it taste okay? Like if you're so...
I'm not into spicy food, but you can still add Tabasco to this sort of food to give it some flavour. Wow. We then do our daily chores as well, so it might be, I was a sail maker, so if there's any sort of damage to sails, you might sort of do a little bit of work on that or prepare something. Bit of housekeeping around the boat, take any water out of the bilges, things like that, and then you'll get some sleep. So a good off watch, you might get 3 hours of sleep. But because we're doing this, so if you did that 3 times a day, you're getting 9 hours, which is
true,
the
but
same
it's broken
as
sleep, essentially.
Yeah. But 9 hours at home isn't a bad night's sleep.
Oh no,
so
God,
that's how we trick ourselves into thinking we're okay.
Yeah.
So we do that. But sometimes in the middle of the day off watch, you're not that tired. So I went around the world in the generation of we had iPods. not
Yeah.
iPhones,
Yeah,
iPods.
I've still got my
and I actually watched the entire, over the 9-month race, I watched the entire series of How I Met Your Mother.
Oh,
Except for,
that's great.
can you
That's
believe it? I didn't have
fantastic.
the last season, so I don't know How He Met Your
no.
Mother.
You'll have to
Damn
catch
it.
up on that
That's
one
so
too.
funny. Get a pirate one on your way.
Yeah.
And what's it like between the crew? Do you get sick of one another after? Is there someone that loses their stuff, or has everyone got that mindset? You just got to keep on
You're
going.
a bitch. Pull the rope. You know,
are there any sort of,
love
like,
you, really,
sometimes someone will be
but-
sick
yeah.
and someone's lost it. And,
Yeah, like, to be honest, when
Yeah.
we sailed around the world with the girls, we were 12 women in this
Yeah.
relatively
Yeah.
small boat. So we did a lot of work beforehand to get to know, like, you know it yourself, here's a Snickers bar kind of thing, you know it yourself when you're hungry, kind of like we had that approach to it. And everyone had a way to pull
I
someone
like
back.
that one.
Yeah.
That's good.
So it wasn't everyone.
Watch
you
out,
know.
Nicola, when I give you the
I know,
stickers
you
bar.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah, I know what she's on about.
So we knew how to look out for each other, you know, which is important, because a lot of the time it wasn't that we were angry at each other, it was that someone was struggling and having a hard time of it, because it's tiring, it's hard, it's scary,
And missing
it's stressful.
family, do some people do that, or missing their thing, or you become your own family, do you sort of?
Yeah, look, there's all the challenges of being away. You know, some people had family members that became sick while we were at sea, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck at sea, and other people just missed home. We had the ability to email home, so that was always fun when you got an
lovely.
email from home
Great.
and stuff.
So stay in touch.
Yeah, my mum was always good at letting me know whether it was raining at home or not. That's always been the update I always get from my mum.
So cute.
It's
Hey guys, it's raining in Malulaba. Like,
That's so good. We go, wow, Mum, thanks for that.
I'm in the Southern Ocean, Mum.
Again, I'm jumping the gun because we're very limited with time with you. I want to do 2 classic questions with you. One, I want you one of your greatest moments out to sea, and I really want it from your eyes, the vision of something you witnessed that just, you know, sort of sits in you, had a ripple effect over you, and your scariest and most frightening moment out to sea.
So probably my best moment at sea is because I always dreamed about sailing around the world, like even when like I was a little girl being laughed at by people, you know, because that wasn't ever going to be possible. Was definitely arriving to Cape Horn for the first time, because, you know, they refer to it as the Mount Everest of sailing, and to see it barely come out, because when we went around with Team SCA, which was our all-female team, we had a bunch of challenges in that leg, and we were a long way. We were 2 days behind the rest of the fleet, and so we were like a bit down and out. And then
Lots of Snickers bars.
yeah, lots of Snickers bars were being handed about, yeah. And as we arrived, the weather was really bad, but you could just see the outline of the land, and it's quite unique, the shape of Cape Horn, if you ever see any pictures of it.
Goosebumps.
And you get to have this moment where you know, traditionally you'd have some rum and you'd have a cigar, and now we didn't even know how to light a cigar. So we just took photos posing.
That's cute.
And it was it had been such a battle to get there, and such a learning curve for us all to get there. When we got there, it was just like amazing, and it was freezing cold, and our photographer from our team couldn't take off in the helicopter and get the photos because the weather was so bad. So we've got these really poor, like, selfie photos we've taken on board, but they're still the greatest photos I've got in my photo album.
Were there lots of tears?
Yeah, you wouldn't know because we were all rugged up, but I'm sure we were all having a little sob underneath our gear.
And was there rum?
There was rum. Yeah, there was rum.
What's a boat without rum, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to actually wonder whether you do drink on board too.
Yeah, look, we don't, but we always have. It's kind of like a sailor's tradition.
Yes.
We have a bottle of rum for that moment. You know, the landmark moments in these races. And then
I can't talk about alcohol. I've been here a week. Seriously,
there's definitely no champagne, don't worry.
Okay, scariest.
Scariest moment. So fast forward to the next race.
Don't you love how we use that word?
Yeah.
Some people say frightening.
Yeah.
Scary.
And I think it's a good word. It actually suits what we do, scary, because that's what it is. It's a water sport, so it is dangerous, you know, and there's every element to that. But I think fast forward 2 years or 3 years maybe to the next race, my second Volvo Ocean race, and we're almost in the same patch of water. We've just had this highlight again of sailing around Cape Horn. Like, for me to go around twice, you know, like I think like 25% of people who sail around the world actually make it around Cape Horn. Like, it's really low number. And I've just passed it for the second time, and then we're a few hours along the track and our mast breaks and falls down. So the mast, which being for the non-sailors, it's the big pole in the middle of the boat that the sails are attached to and hanging off, and it breaks in half and falls over the side of the boat. And so now
it's actually gone?
Yeah, it's gone. It's hanging in the water and it's starting to sink and it's starting to wrap down underneath the boat, and it's really putting us in a seriously dangerous position. And we're in the Southern Ocean. We're in the roughest part of the world that you can be in, and we don't have a mast anymore. And so we you don't even get this chance to be scared about
no cigar,
no rum. Like, there's not enough rum in the world to fix this problem, So, but we've got to work about fixing this and getting it clear of the boat and saving the boat. We don't, because the last thing we want is a hole in the boat as well, So we worked really hard on that, and then when we were recovered from that, we've made a plan and we can motor to land. We've got enough fuel to motor back.
So do you cut the wires?
Yeah, we cut it. Yeah, we get hacksaws. We've
got
got power tools, and unfortunately, we have to let that sink into the ocean.
Of course, but it's
beyond safe to try and get back on board.
No.
Yeah. So and then we, as we start to make our way to land, that's where that bottle of rum came back out again, because we've just had our little. We've had a few hours previous. We've had our little sip of rum, and we've taken our photos with our sign that says we've round the Cape on, and then the next
mastless
minute we're mastless. Yeah. Wow. So
the highs and lows, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You're not going to tell me you went to land and got a new mast and continued. But it's not that simple.
Not quite, but not far from it. So we ended up in the Falkland Islands, which is which is amazing. Like, so that's a bucket list item ticked off for me now, because it's an amazing part of the world to go to.
Wow.
And we made what they call a jury rig. We found a street lamp post out of aluminium, and the boys did some welding, and myself and some of the other crew, we joined ropes that we had to cut in half to get rid of the wreck of our mast, and we created a little sail plan, a little mast and little sails, and we ended up being able to sail to the next stopover of the race, and there we were met with a brand new mast.
My God.
Unbelievable.
Oh, well, I'm a bit speechless, and that's very rare.
Wow. Yeah. And would you do it again?
In a heartbeat.
Oh, incredible. And so what next is on the agenda for you, Stacey?
Well, like short term, the Sydney Hobart, you don't get to 16 by not going every year. So, and I've got the people in the sport that I look up to, like Adrienne Cahalan. She's just done her 31st race, I think.
You're about the sixth person this week said you've got to meet her.
Yeah.
And I haven't.
She's
I
the most amazing woman, and she's always been like my idol and the person I look up to, and I love to embarrass her too when I'm near her with that, because I genuinely have a nice relationship with her where I can just chat to her about things. But little does she know, well, she does know. I hope she knows she really has helped pave the way for my career. She's just, I think she's just completed her 31st race. Again, it's hard to keep count with these things.
What?
And I do joke with her. I said, well, you let me know when you stop, because that's my number that I can get to, and then I can stop
it's
as
interesting,
well.
and other people look up to you. So.
You know that Stacey was had an all-girl crew. She asked Bob Oatley if she could borrow Wild Oat 66 to take down to Sydney Hobart. That's the boat where Julie Bishop jumped off.
Oh, how was that?
Yeah.
I think
so for those listening, after the start to the Sydney the Hobart, Stacey, you were skippering, weren't you?
Yeah. So Julie Bishop came on board as our mentor for our team, and I was like, how about doing the race with us? We had space for one more person on board. And she felt like she wasn't prepared yet to come with us, and because we were in it to win it,
Yeah.
So I said, oh, well, your other option is you can do the start and then you can jump off outside of Sydney Heads. So we got permission for the race organisers to do that.
God, just that in itself would have been...
Yeah, to be honest, I would have stayed on board.
Yeah. I love her.
But credit to her. She's a cool lady. She's a tough lady.
Yeah, and she's a fit lady, isn't she?
Which I think it's credit to her is why she could do it. Yeah, which was amazing.
I'll never forget the vision. I actually didn't know that was happening. Yeah. Well, I guess most people didn't.
No, I
certainly
think it's a surprise.
What the...
It certainly brought an alert, didn't it?
Yeah.
On the front page of every paper too, wasn't it? Like that, So
and well done for what you do for sustainability.
Yes.
For awareness around plastic, because I'm a bit paranoid. Can you just leave one quick thing for the listeners that you'd suggest someone can do to help the earth in their everyday life?
Yeah, look, and I think it's irrelevant to what your sport is. Obviously for me, it's about the ocean, which is my playground, my workplace, my everything. So I like to see the reducing the use of plastics. Like at this point in our lives, we're not going to be able to just cut them out because there's too many elements involved with it. But if you can just reduce what you use, take your water bottle sailing, have your own coffee cup. It's like super easy things to do, and it's a hard process to change, but once you do get in that rhythm, you know, we can all make these little changes that will eventually help, and be that person who says, oh, I am going to be the small change for me. And whether it's for me it's about sailing in the waterways, someone might be into their gardening, like, and it's all has the same effects, you know.
We don't have the oceans, we don't have us. People don't realise that.
Even if you live hundreds of kilometres from the sea, it's so important.
And have you seen the tides with the plastic garbage?
Yeah, so I haven't seen the massive one in the North Pacific, but like sailing up through Asia and sort of in the northern hemisphere, there's a fair bit of pollution through there that we sailed, and you literally have to sail around it, because if you sail into it, it will stop you. You'll get stuck in the rubbish.
There's so much garbage.
Having sailed around the world, it was a massive eye opener on what is actually in the sea. And then you're in the most remote parts of the ocean as well, so far from land, and you're seeing trash that is arrived there by people's hands, like by the fact that they either didn't put it in the bin properly, or it didn't get recycled properly, or whatever the process was. It's arrived there by human error, which is really, you know, that would probably be my second scariest moment.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Yes,
that was a beautiful
thanks for bringing
rounding
that
up.
Yeah,
that was
rounding
perfect.
awareness of that too. Well, look, we've got our signature question, Stacey, so we're going to hit it with it. Yeah. If you could share a back fence with anybody on planet Earth, past or present, who would it be and why?
Oh, wow. You could give me a heads up on this question.
I know, see how we naughty.
You know, like, to be honest, you know, modern times, I'd chuck Julie Bishop over the back fence. Like, you know, the small amount of time that I got to spend with her, and, you know, being mentored by her, you know, and she would be great in this moment, because one of the things I really got out of her was in a press conference how she could bring it back to the point on hand. And she would really be saving me right now. She would have stepped in with an answer.
Bravo, Julie. I've been fortunate to meet Julie quite a few times, and she's the most lovely, delightful lady. So we will definitely be sending this to Julie, and she'll be hearing it, and that she is an incredible, remarkable woman.
So just quickly, last question. If you had a chance to meet your 20-year-old self, what would you say?
Okay, so this is something that I've been saying a lot to people recently. Like, if I could write that letter to my younger self, what would I say? One would be more core exercises. I've got to sort that today.
Did you get that guy's core exercise?
Yeah, more Pilates. And like, I like to think I did it, but just take every opportunity you get. And I think I have, and I think I've packed it in pretty well. But don't ever feel like you know, don't think you can't do something. Maybe you're not skilled enough yet, but just take on the mentality that if you aren't exactly skilled for the job yet, you can become skilled enough to do it, and just take every opportunity you're given to succeed.
Bravo! You are. We're all about inspiration, and you certainly are the most
Stacey, I've always wanted to meet you, and I'm in awe of you. I really am. And
yeah, you really are. You make Australia proud, and you really do. And you know, female and
she's
leading
literally
the world.
racing now to
so good
go
luck.
Race on Wild
exactly
Oats.
for today's. So
we're going to stop it there. But I could talk for 10 more.
Yeah. Well, Di, what a week. I want to do more of this. We're off to LA next week, which will be fun. We're going to interview some people there. Tell us what you like.
Yes.
And we like hearing from you.
Yeah, we love the DMs that are coming through.
Rate, review, share it. It makes a big difference to us.
It
so
does.
if you can do that, that would be great. And, you know, we like to give stars. And how many stars in the sky, darling, for those those sailors?
Yeah, right on. Look, I think for race week, how many bottles of champagne do we consume? No, I would say 100.
Why not pop 100 champagne corks?
Instead of 5, throw in 100.
Reach for the stars. Thanks for listening,
love
guys.
that.
Let's
Ciao.
Ciao.